Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Russell HD, and this week we watched Civil War, the new Alex Garland film starring Kirsten Dunst. This film is just, as I said, it is a war movie, definitely a war movie, and overall it is just very intense. I say it's very thrilling, also very edge of your seat. Just had me, like, really on the edge of my seat the entire time. But, man, before I go on a whole rant or tangent about how much I enjoyed this film, I'll tell you why I enjoyed this film and more. Back at the house.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? God bless America.
Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Russell HD, and this week we watched Civil War, written and directed by Alex Garland. This film is starring Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, and with appearances from Nick Offerman as the president and Jesse Plemons as a small cameo as the red glasses wearing civilian killing spooky soldier, spooky guy. And yes, this film, right, it is a war film. It is I think a war drama. I'd say there's like drama elements in there, but it's mainly obviously a war film. It is called Civil War, a Civil War film about a civil war, but it's not really that much about a civil war. You know what I mean? Like, it's called that, but in reality, the film is more about war journalism and like the horrors of war, which every war movie is really about. But this film, I do really think I like how vague the Civil War is. I like how it's not very political at all. I like how it really just kind of boils down to war. Maybe not even that, just kind of like war journalism. Like, I don't even know really how to describe it, because maybe a rewatch is in order, because I feel like I couldn't, like, digest all the film in one viewing, I feel like I might need to watch it a second time and pay attention more, because I was kind of just in the moment watching the movie, but maybe a second viewing could really help me digest it better, like involve myself, engage myself a little bit better. And the reason I say that is because I was so in the moment, because the characters I just think were really authentic, and I was really into their story. I was really into their story of these journalists just trying to get from New York to D.C., right? But they couldn't just go through Philly because it was blocked, so they had to do a big, like, loop-de-loop around to Washington. And it was a very just enthralling story. And then the battle parts that there were, and, like, just the eeriness that, like, the empty cities and towns that were full of people before, and the empty streets and the highways full of, like, trash and abandoned cars, graffiti everywhere, once full and bustling baseball stadiums turned into refugee camps. It's just all so engaging, but also kind of scary, as it feels kind of like a cautionary tale at the same time. Because it not only shows, I feel like also it shows what it's like in other, like, overseas, what it's like right now in certain other countries going through war, like, just what it's like being a bystander in that. It, like, fucking sucks, right? You're getting caught in a conflict that you have nothing to do with, and you're dying for nothing, like, literally nothing, right? And that's, like, the kind of part that engaged me, because it really, like, immersed me in this war-torn America, and it just, like, it freaks you out a little bit, because then I got so immersed to the point where I imagined a world where this was what was going on, and thinking about all the things we take for granted now, working cell service, the internet, like, TV's working, like, running water, food, all these things that we just have at our disposal. We have, like, an infinite amount of food and water and whatever coming through into our country. But what if we didn't? Like, what if, like a sandwich cost us $300 fucking dollars because you can't get that shit anymore? What if gas, which is already expensive now, wasn't being flowed into America right now because we were in war? Like, imagine how much that shit would cost. Imagine how awful it would be to live, and how awful it is to live in a war-torn country. Like, it freaked me out, and it also made me sympathize heavily. I mean, I already did, but especially for the people who live in this right now in the modern day. And it fucking sucks, because you can't do anything about it, right? You just have to pray that the war ends. And God knows when that'll be, right? So you are just praying that you're not next to be caught in the crossfire. You're not next to get bombed by a missile that was aiming at another faction that was residing in your location. Legitimately very eerie in that sense. And it just kind of like, and also like the moments, like the kind of visual storytelling too. Like all the shit that's happened in these like war, like these abandoned cities and these abandoned towns. Like, what the fuck happened here, right? Like, big battles happened here and we're only seeing the aftermath of it. And it just really gets you immersed in the world, and I was just very engrossed in this world, and it really made me think. You know what I mean? And I always say that. I love a movie that makes you think, and this movie made me think. It did make me think. And overall, it was just so engaging. And that's why I might need to give it a second viewing, because I couldn't really get into the nitty-gritty, because I was just so engaged in the world, enthralled in the universe that this movie had crafted, and the spookiness of it, you know? Another thing that helped with my immersion was the sound design. I was in this, like, big, super, like, like, the expensive theater, right? Like, the super theater, the XD, my theater calls it. Might be IMAX for your theater, or whatever they call it. But it was, like, the sound design when they were in battles, or when there was, like, gunfire, it was fucking loud. And when I say it was loud, it was loud. The fucking ground vibrated. It, like, felt like you were like, maybe not getting shot at, but it sounded like gunshots. Like, you know how in some movies, like, gunshots are kind of like tink, tink, tink. Like, they're kind of like pea shooters, right? They did not sound, like, none of the guns in this movie sounded like pea shooters. They sounded like fucking hand cannons. Every single one of them. And it just, like, it almost made you want to cover your ears because of how loud it was, right? It almost made you feel like you were standing there with the characters on the battlefield. And it just, like, was loud, and it was just scary. Like, when you were in a battlefield, you were scared with the characters because of how so much was going on. You could barely hear what the characters were saying. And it just immersed me even more. And it spooked me. Again, it spooked me a little bit too. And it wasn't, like, the whole movie wasn't loud. That might be what I'm making it sound like, but it's not. Like, there were some moments in the film where it was, like, dead quiet, right? Or, like, it was super, super quiet and super, like, peaceful. But that's when the battlefield scenes, that's why they're so jarring, is because they're so fucking loud. Like, the sounds of the trucks coming in, and the tanks, and the heavy machine guns, and the screaming, and the, like, do this, do that, like, the constant characters screaming at each other. It was very immersive, in, you know, the ups and downs, right? There were some moments that were super quiet, and some moments that were super loud. Like, it balanced it out really well. And I just really like that part of the movie, and yeah. I really like the sound design, even though it might have just boiled down to super loud sounds. It just really immersed me into the world. It got me hooked. You know what I mean? It, like, hit me. You know what I mean? It impacts you because of how hard-hitting it is. And overall, I just think that the film was enjoyable. And some people might criticize it for its lack of politics. And I say, does it need to be? Really, the film isn't even about politics. The film is, as I said, about war journalism, and, you know, kind of all about that. Like, I don't really even think the film is about the war itself at all, really. It's about the 4 journalists on the journey to DC. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know why the conflict starts. We don't even know what each side is fighting for. I mean, obviously we know the president is fighting to keep the Western forces from taking over America, but we don't know why they want to take over America and why what he did provoked them to do it, right? And I like that because not everything needs to be answered, right? I really like the lack of there were questions, but we didn't need answers to them, right? It leaves it open to interpretation, very heavy interpretation as to why this conflict started. And overall, just really enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think I would recommend it. I mean, if you're not if you can't take like super loud sounds, if you're like kind of like sensitive to that, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, as I said, the Battlefield sounds, maybe like wait for it to come out on, like physical or on digital, because then maybe, but like don't watch it in the theater if you're sensitive sound, because holy shit is it loud, and I mean loud. So yeah, but if you're like a fan of war movies, dramas, I guess more films about photography and journalism, highly recommend it. And overall, I think I'd rate this film an 8 out of 10. Very, very enjoyable. And yeah, that's all I need to say. Think of some peace. So guys, hope you like this video. Share with friends, subscribe, turn notifications on. Comment down below how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't mean to say that. What I really meant to say was, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, doesn't too much hate me in the comments. And I've been Run of Time HD, reporting off. Like, does that make sense? Or am I just talking crazy with my crazy hair? I don't know. I don't know. Something's in there.